Hi there. I want to share with you something I've noticed after a long time of getting to work with people as a therapist. When people come to talk about a relationship that's not going well, they almost always begin that conversation focused on the other person, what the other person needs to do differently so the relationship can be great. And they spend a lot of their energy trying to figure out how they can get the other person to just change a few things so everything can be better. And look, sometimes that's a completely fair question. Some relationships really are one-sided from time to time. Some people really do have some extra work to do to maybe catch up with the skill set of the other person. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every hard conversation is 50-50 or every relationship is 50-50. Relationships wax and wane as we all grow and change at different rates. What I see happening over and over is in the moments when communication breaks down, most completely, where things go from fine to heated in about 0.2 seconds, and nobody's really aware why in the moment those instances almost always start the same way. Something gets activated inside, one or both people, and before the words come out, before anything has actually been said, there's this internal shift. And what comes out after that shift is not coming from a place of clear thinking. And you've heard me say it before, and it applies here too. This is the nervous system doing what nervous systems do. And it's worth understanding. When you understand how your system functions, you have the power of choice. Many times when I've been sitting with a couple in that first session, just watching how they talk to each other, doing my assessment, I often see right before my very eyes that split-second shift occur. This tiny spark becomes a significant flame, and tempers flare and voices raise, or I see somebody shut down completely. And as the guide in the room, I get to pause things right there and help each person look at what just happened for them internally. That understanding of their own internal process is what can start the change process. Now, in my own life, it's a bit more challenging. It is harder to read the label when you're inside the bottle, right? What I'm able to do, though, is notice when there's a shift in my emotion. I notice tension or reactivity, or I might notice myself shutting down. Sometimes I catch it as it's happening, and sometimes I catch it earlier. Humans do that. I'm going to be talking about this more in depth inside my community on Sunday. We have a live session every Sunday, and this Sunday is going to be about communication. We're going to talk about what it looks like in those moments when something gets internally activated and what it looks like to show up differently. The link's in my description and my bio, as always. I hope to see you there. Anyway, what I want to invite you to do today is think about what happens when a conversation stops working for you. When you start to notice things going poorly, what direction do you go? And what I mean by that is some people go hot. Their heart rate goes up, their jaw tightens, words come out faster and sharper than they really intend, maybe louder, maybe more pointed, and sometimes things get said that take a while to recover from. Hurt feelings happen, and then there's guilt, regret, and shame afterwards. And some people go quiet or cold. They pull back. They give short answers. They're still in the room physically, but they've left the conversation. Sometimes you can feel exactly when that shift occurs, whether it's hot or cold or loud or quiet. And most of us can identify which way we go. We just might not have spent a lot of time asking why or what's underneath. So I want to let you know that these are not character flaws. There's nothing wrong with you, and neither way means something about people's capacity for relationships. It doesn't mean you're bad at relationships, or you're too emotional, or you're checked out. You're a human. Both of these responses are just protection. Something your nervous system learned at some point that one of those directions kept things safer for you or prevented you from consequences or criticism or judgment. And in the environment where that learning happened, it probably made sense. However, both directions tend to produce the opposite of what people actually are trying to accomplish. I find it fascinating how our nervous system is trying to help us, and more often than helping, it gets in the way. Going hot is almost always about being heard, about making sure your presence is felt, that some wrong gets addressed. And that's completely understandable. The problem occurs when someone comes in hot. The other person's nervous system activates right back, and now both people are in protection mode. And the actual conversation, the one about what needed to shift, or what was needed, or what shift could make the relationship healthier or more enjoyable, that conversation isn't even happening anymore. Both people are off to a brand new conversation. And going quiet is almost always about self-protection. Pull back far enough and you reduce your exposure. The problem with that is people on the receiving end of silence almost never experience it as somebody needing space. They experience it as being shut out. So they push to get a response, and the person who went quiet pulls back further, and the distance grows, and nobody really knows how to interrupt that cycle. See how that dance occurs? Both responses tend to create more of what they were trying to prevent, and both get activated out of nervous system protection of some sort. Here's what I'll leave you with today. Which direction do you go? Do you get loud or go hot? Do you get quiet or go cold? And what is that response trying to protect you from? Being misunderstood? Being hurt? Being criticized? Something to think about, and not in a critical way, please. No self-judgment. I just really want you to be genuinely curious. I practice this a lot with my husband, my sister, my best friend, the relationships that are high priority for me. Even in those closest relationships, especially in those closest relationships, there are moments when I catch myself feeling reactive or shutting down. And I pause and ask myself what's going on underneath. And after some practice now, I'm pretty quickly able to identify what my mind is telling me, and then use my skills for fact-checking or thought replacement, thought negation, sincerely being curious about what the other person meant before I misinterpret it and react or shut down. Improving my communication has made my relationships so much richer and healthier. Now, you don't have to try and overhaul anything today. I just want you to start noticing hot or quiet, loud or cold. Which one is your default? Naming your pattern creates a little distance between you and the automatic response, and that distance, even a small amount, is where you can begin to shift things. Things can start to change when you understand your own internal process a little better. So stay tuned. There are more videos coming this week all about communication, and the full live session on Sunday in the community. I love you. Take care of yourself, and I'm sending you peace and light.